Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli conducted bilateral talks with his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. The two sides discussed issues related to open border and laid emphasis on the need to secure open borders between the two countries. PM Modi said that open border is a living bridge and India won't allow open border with Nepal to be misused. And to bring us more details on these bilateral talks, I am now joined by our correspondent Siddharth, who's joining us live from New Delhi. Let's quickly cut across to Siddharth. Siddharth, we heard what Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepal's Prime Minister Mr. KP Sharma Oli had to say. This clearly seems like a fresh new chapter in terms of the India-Nepal ties, since agriculture, connectivity, waterways and energy are going to be the prime areas of focus.
Well, rightly said, the key focus was connectivity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that there will be a rail link between Kathmandu and Raxaul in India. That's an important takeaway from this, the press statement which were made at the location where I'm standing behind me, where the statement were made. And remember, China is also trying to make a railway link between Lhasa and Kathmandu. But of course, other than connectivity, focus was on how to reset the ties, because we know India-Nepal ties last 2 years haven't been very good. So this visit was all about resetting ties. Earlier, speaking at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the Prime Minister of Nepal spoke about how bygones should be bygones and we should look forward, and that was clearly the intent here when he made the press statement. He said that his visit has a mission to take the India-Nepal ties to a newer height, but with the realities of 21st century. That clearly indicates about how Nepal is open to have ties with other neighbors as well. Remember, Nepal has two neighbors, India and China. Both are growing powers in Asia, and of course, India has its own worries regarding Chinese presence in Kathmandu, in Nepal itself, and with increasing connectivity with China, despite the geographical barrier of Himalayas, this is something which has worried India for a long time. And let me tell you one interesting thing which happened here today. No MOUs were signed. That's very not normal. That's unprecedented, primarily because usually when there is a visit, there are MOUs signed, and when a neighborhood visit is happening, a country, a leader from the neighborhood visiting, there are MOUs usually signed. But this time around, there weren't any MOUs. Earlier, before the visit was to start, the Prime Minister of Nepal briefed the Nepali Parliament and spoke about he will never sign an MOU that will jeopardize the interest of the Nepali people, the Nepali government. So clearly that was clearly visible here. So pretty strong statements were made by both the sides, but of course, a resetting of ties. We'll get more details when the Foreign Secretary briefs the media at 2:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time.
Right. Siddharth, you mentioned a very interesting observation that you made, that no memorandum of understanding was signed, which is always an integral part of bilateral meets. Could you elaborate on why this actually happened?
Well, usually MOUs are signed, but usually what happens that MOUs are signed, infrastructure projects are announced, but nothing happens on the ground. And Nepal is a classic example. Number of projects have been announced from the Indian side, but we haven't seen on the ground things happening. So primarily that might be the intent from the Nepalese side, but by and large, two important things happened here. Two infrastructure projects were announced. One, of course, the open border was discussed. So there was this integrated check post at Birganj that has been finally handed over to Nepal. That's an important thing which happened. And another very important thing happened was a pipeline, a petroleum product pipeline from Motihari in India to a place in Nepal. That pipeline was inaugurated. We saw those visuals also. Two important things happening. though despite no MOUs were signed, these two importance are really important, and one can expect Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Nepal anytime soon for maybe inauguration of a big infrastructure project.
Right. Also, it would be very interesting to, talk about how Prime Minister Narendra Modi is taking India's initiative, a step forward in terms of, helping Nepal, because maybe, now considering that China is also now a key player when it comes to Nepal. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his address made it very, very apparent that India will provide all kind of assistance when it comes to, securing Nepal's development. And in a way, he also assured Nepal that its development is also India's responsibility. Why don't you elaborate to us how, what were those areas of focus that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, elaborated on, where these areas in which, India will provide assistance?
Well, let me tell you one important thing. What happened in this room was India reaching out to Nepal. Nepal, which was clearly unhappy, especially with what happened in last 2 years, especially the economic blockade which happened in Nepal. And of course, the Prime Minister of Nepal, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, this is his second visit as Prime Minister to India. His first tenure was marred by the economic blockade, and of course, he wasn't really happy about this. He mentioned about his visit here twice in this very room. He talked about that he was in this room standing at the same podium and talked about a range of issues, and then again he's here again. He clearly wanted to show that he is a strong leader there in Nepal. Of course, his nationalistic background does come across, and of course his parliamentary majority is really important, because he is coming here with a majority in his parliament with a full government backing. So clearly here we saw a strong Nepali leader talking about his government's viewpoint, his people's viewpoint. Expectedly, we can say demonetization would have been discussed before, because before leaving, he briefed the parliament that he will be taking this issue. That's something that's hurted the common man in Nepal very much. But we'll only get to know the clarity on what actually the nitty-gritty is being discussed only when the foreign secretary briefs. But by and large, the entire press briefing was all about connectivity, and connectivity.
Right. Absolutely agree with you, Siddharth, that, by and large, this was about, this press brief was about connectivity. Apart from connectivity, yes, agriculture, waterways, energy, everything about connectivity. I completely agree with you. Thank you so much for bringing us that quick update on Nepal's Prime Minister's visit to India.